Honestly, I'm lucky this isn't later because I completely forgot that I needed to actually film an update for the month of June. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be doing my monthly update for June, which I legitimately did entirely forget about. I was specifically looking and I was organizing my July videos, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't see a June wrap up, and realized I had completely forgotten. So I probably would have filmed this like a week ago had I realized. So we're almost halfway through July when I'm filming this, but hey, better late than never. But we're going to talk about everything that I read in the month of June. So, month started off with The Power of the Dog by Don Winslow, and I do have a full review for this on out too if you want to hear more, as well as most of what we'll talk about here. But this was just a big surprise for me. This was a patron pick, and I knew ahead of time that obviously this is not going to be my normal thing. This is a more like recent historical fiction, but it's about the war on drugs, and it is fiction, but has a lot of realism and very real events that it covers, and the scope of the world that the author is able to include here was just fantastic. It really did a really great job of showing this story on a global scale and pulling in all of these different pieces and having it work. We start with just limited. We've got multiple different locations within the United States and Mexico, but then we pull in a whole lot more over a long period of time, and I was very impressed with this. So I will definitely be continuing the series as well. But this was not my normal read whatsoever. But it was just it's very brutal and dark, but it's also very gripping, and I was pulled in pretty much immediately. And just the whole time, it was very engaging, very easy to get through, and just made me really curious to see what else this author can do in general. But definitely, I'll be continuing this series there as well. So started strong there. We had a couple of not as strong ones here too, and I didn't do a full review for this. I don't know that I will, but the World Whisperer, Rachel Devenish Ford. This one was another patron pick, and this one did not end up working quite as well for me. Now I was warned that this is very YA, but that the world building is cool, and I did agree with that completely. The sort of the setup here is there's this family who comes from the desert, ends up finding this village after they were fleeing something, basically, and they're like on death's door. They find this village and are taken in, but it's this village of workers where everybody lives behind their walls, and it's very much going for that thematically, and they end up kind of going off to do their own thing after there's this thing they do where they like sacrifice young children to the gods, and they go and try and rescue a sibling of theirs that was gone. That's kind of the fallout there. So the world building in general, it deals with just like the connection to the earth, and idea of people putting themselves behind walls and trying to heal. And so I can appreciate some of the things it was doing. It did some things in an interesting way. Some of the imagery and ideas here were cool, but the thing that really got me, and I talked about this recently in another video on when I was talking about Vanisher, and it's just things just sort of happen. There's no real rhyme or reason. You're never given any explanation, and sometimes the things that happen just do not make sense, and it's just very clearly happening just because that's what the author wants to happen at this point in the story. And so I just kept getting to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe we're going to get some explanation as to why this is happening or how this is happening, but we don't. We just move on, and then more things that don't really make any sense happen. And after a while, I just really got checked out because I completely lose all suspension when there's just things that happen that don't make sense. They're not explained, and they're not going to be. And I feel like you get that sometimes with YA where it's just the author's like, oh, I don't need to explain this because I'm writing this for younger readers. So they just will accept whatever I give them. And that can be true to an extent, but I just always think if you don't expect your reader to ask questions and call you on holes in your story, maybe that's just a story that I don't want to read, I guess. But it's again why I struggle a bit with YA. But so that one didn't work out the best for me overall. Now I did, and I don't have an image for it yet because I can't share it quite yet, but I did a beta read, which was a really nice chunk of my June. That thankfully went fantastically well. It was for author Zamar Amr, who he did the Book of Astea, which are over here. I was gonna say I've moved things around. You can see them right in here. And so those are books that were a little bit different from my norm, but had just so cool fantasy world building, and they were very kind of like Abercrombie inspired. Not a huge Abercrombie fan. The new one though is very like Hobb inspired, and it did so many crazy things, and it's a very long book, but man, I was sucked in almost immediately, and I just couldn't put it down. I stayed up late because I couldn't get enough of reading it, so I will absolutely have a full video review of that coming out once I'm kind of cleared. We're still in early stages yet, so I don't want to reveal too much. But I really, really loved that book a lot more than I was expecting to, and a lot more than I feel like he was expecting to when he sent me the copy to beta read. And so it was, yeah, that one really was a strong point for me in June. I can't wait to talk about it more and go from there. So yeah, there's definitely more to come at that point. And then we have another one which didn't go the greatest, which is Wraith Knight by C.T. Phipps. This was a review copy that I had for a while, and I was finally getting to. And it kind of premise wise, I knew this was going to be sort of like an 80s style throwback type of fantasy, which is something that has worked very well for me in the past. And the idea here is that this person who was a hero basically wakes up, and he's sort of like, it'd be sort of like if, like Aragorn woke up suddenly and he's one of the ring wraiths in Lord of the Rings, that kind of idea. Is this person was a hero, and now they wake up and they're one of the Wraith Knights that serves the Dark Lord, and a lot of time has passed since they last remember what happened, and that's the base premise. I think it's a cool premise, and ultimately there are some really cool things that are done here. But this one just sort of clashed, I think, more stylistically for me. It wasn't quite my thing with just some of the choices that are made. This is blisteringly fast-paced, I will say. It moved extremely quickly, and to the point where you sort of just like skip over it. It's like, oh, it's going to be a couple of months travel, and then we're there. Like things like that. I like to slow down a little bit more and go that route. And then the thing I'll say too is this is described to as kind of 80s throwback. It also to me had some of the negatives associated with that kind of thing, with some of just the things that don't feel like, obviously this is new, but they don't feel like they've aged well when you read some of those, just 80s male centric D&D-esque type of books. There was definitely some of those things here with the way the character's set up, and with the female characters, and some very wish fulfillmenty things in here that I just was like, yeah, not quite for me too. So this was fun. It's something that I'm definitely not writing off this author. It was really entertaining and easy to get through, and there were some cool things. This just stylistically is not totally my thing. Ultimately, is kind of where I ended up here. Switching now to the highlight uh, of the month here. I had some ups and downs for sure, but Under Heaven by Guy Gavriel Kay. Whenever there's a Guy Gavriel Kay in the month, it is very likely that that's going to be my favorite book that I read that month, because Kay is just one of my favorite authors. And Under Heaven, I will have a full video review coming for this soon, but this just I sort of expect to be blown away by K books, but it's also like, how does he keep doing it at the same time? It feels like there has to be some point where I'm just going to be like, oh, that was just okay. Now, to be fair, I will say, I think it was more me, but I was sort of just, I think partially just because of the ups and downs, and had a lot of stuff going on, outside of reading as well. I was sort of like just not fully there for the first bit. And it starts off with a huge draw, and like it's really good, and like when I think about what happened, I'm like, I really really did enjoy it, but I wasn't feeling 100% engaged immediately, which I do think was more of a me problem, because especially though the back half, which I don't think is technically any better than like the beginning, I couldn't put it down. And I once I kind of like got over my hurdle of just being sort of slumpy, I couldn't put it down. And this has jumped up. It's so hard to rank Guy Gavriel K books, but this has jumped up to one of my favorites. And to briefly talk about the things here that just really pulled me in, is this is a super different setting than most of his kind of Eurocentric type of books that I've read that are the historical analogs. This is an Asian setting. The world, the mythos, and the lore, the things being explored are very different, therefore. And while this is still Kay's trademark low fantasy elements type of book, I felt like there was more to it, because there was more kind of mythos that he was playing with, and just a lot of really, really great stuff that he's doing here as well. And the character choices, and just, yeah, I can't wait to talk about this one more, but fantastic. I'm really eagerly looking forward to River of Stars, which is the same setting, but very different time period too. But just like I love Guy Gardner K so much. I'm rarely am I going to have anything negative to say about K. I have a couple of nitpicks here, but it's a book that absolutely beloved now that I've read it. So that was a really good one as well. Then we had Grandmaster by Mercedes Lackey, and this is this beautiful copy that the team sent me here, Mercedes team, and I really enjoyed this. I wasn't sure. I'd been a little bit kind of just reticent to continue Valdemar because I had mixed feelings on the original, like the Herald's trilogy. I still liked it, and I really liked the first book especially, but just didn't like some of the choices. But so when they reached out, I'm like, you know what, this is a really good excuse to try more because I wanted to try more, and I've heard a lot of people tell me I should try more Valdemar, and so this is a collection of shorts, and it's got I think like. I was like 20 stories or something, but A, it's just beautiful. So it's pretty, and I like pretty books. But B, this was a really diverse set of stories within Valdemar, some following Harold, some following other things, like creatures or people that are just more mundane. And there was even like a sort of Scooby Doo parody story in there. It was such a mixed bag, not in a bad way, but in just a really great set of stories. And it honestly, I had a really good time with this, and it has me very excited to get more into Valdemar. The world building alone, just seeing all of these cool glimpses of what more the world has to offer, that is absolutely how you get me interested in a series and excited about a series again. And I really want to get the Heralds. The thing that they asked me to promote too, I took one look at it and I'm like, I don't think I'd want to get this because it was sort of mixed. And I take one look at it, I'm like, that is so pretty. So I might have to get that as well here too because it's a very pretty set. But yeah, that went really well. It was just a really diverse thing. I did do a video talking about some of those in general, but from spider creatures to lizard creatures to things of the deep to the horses, we get to see a different country. We get to see different people things. There's a lot happening in these different stories, and I had a really good time. There were only a handful that I didn't care for, including the first one. I thought it started off pretty weak, and I was nervous, and then it just like knocked it out of the park for most of them. So really fun time. A good one to check out for sure. And then finally, finishing out, and I actually finished this like a week into July, full disclosure, but I'm done with it now. Duran by Kate Elliott. This was the Backlist Book Club pick for June, and it's one I'd been super interested to get to from Kate Elliott for a long time. Now, it's Kate Elliott, so you can generally assume that I'm going to enjoy it, and I did enjoy this. This is very different from a lot of what I've read from her, because this is sci-fi. It does take place in like distant future, and the sort of the setup here is there's this planet that has more primitive, low tech people on it, and the main character, her brother, is the like Duke who's in charge because he tried to start a rebellion against this very powerful alien empire, and it failed. But they made him royalty because they really recognize rank, and so she ends up on there because she's kind of stowed away on a trader ship from these aliens that aren't supposed to be there, and so she's trying to figure out what they're doing while also learning about this world. And the world part, again, it's Kate Elliott. Just she world builds like not quite like anyone else, but in just a way that it's almost the trademark. It's you get in immediate draw, and then she just keeps expanding and building in such a natural flow way. And the world building is really what kept me going and held me interested in this one, because this does have some romance elements for sure, which were very much were less my thing here too. Some of it's got some sort of like toxic romance type of stuff in there, and it's a lot of stuff actually. I think the modern kind of romantasy readers who are into the sort of more gray type of stuff like that too, I think would really have a lot to enjoy here, because it's got the like the sci fantasy, the world building elements, the things that I like that are really cool, but it also has a lot of that stuff going on. And so the romance parts, it was definitely more than I would have liked. It was not my favorite, but there was enough of the great stuff, and just Kate Elliott's the way she writes, I just enjoy as well. So I still really had a good time with this, and I'm planning to continue. I don't think it's going to be up there with my favorites from her just so far because it's a little bit of a different focus, but I'm hoping for a little less romance in the next one. But we'll have to see. But honestly, I think it's worth checking out for people who like reading the kind of more modern romantasy stuff, because this feels ahead of its time with some of that, and the way that she's exploring the gender dynamics on this planet and with the relationships. Just it's Kate Elliott. It's gonna be good stuff. You should know that by now if you watch my channel. Kate, it's good stuff. But anyway, That is it for everything that I read in June. I will have an absolutely packed July wrap up because I will be reading 20 books as long as I get to all of them in July for the Battle Advance Readathon. I did my MBR video on that, so you'll hopefully have that one timely as well. But that's really it for June. So let me know your thoughts on any of these books as well as what you were reading, any highlights that stand out in June for you as well. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the links in the description as always for the Patreon if you want to support what I do, as well as the Wizard of the Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether any of these books, other books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.